This is VOA News. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. The group of 7 leading global economies say the war in Ukraine is creating a global food and energy crisis throughout the world. AP correspondent Karen Chalmers reports.
Canadian Foreign Minister Melanie Joly told reporters at the G7 meeting that huge stockpiles of Ukrainian grain are stuck inside Ukrainian warehouses, unable to be distributed because of the war.
We need to make sure that these cereals are sent to the world. If not, millions of people will be facing famine, particularly in the Middle East and Africa.
German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock has said Russia is aware and responsible for the issue. Russia is preparing the ground for new crises to deliberately weaken international cohesion against Russia's war. The G7 nations also called on China not to help Russia, including by undermining international sanctions or justifying Moscow's actions in Ukraine. I'm Karen Chalmers.
Ukrainian forces began a counteroffensive Saturday near the Russian-controlled town of Izum in northeastern Ukraine. This, according to a regional governor. Ukraine wants to push Russia from its staging area there and prevent it from encircling thousands of Ukrainian troops on the eastern front of Donbas. The Russians turned their focus on Donbas after they failed to capture Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, at the start of the war. Ukraine has regained some of its territory there, including its second largest city in the northeast, Kharkiv. Fighting was also fierce on the Seversky Donetsk River near the city of Severodonetsk. The governor of eastern Luhansk region said Ukrainian forces repulsed Russian attempts to cross the river and encircle the city. This is VOA News. North Korea said Sunday a total of 42 people have died in the country as it began its 4th day under a nationwide lockdown aimed at stopping the impoverished country's first confirmed COVID-19 outbreak. On Thursday, North Korea acknowledged for the first time a COVID-19 outbreak and ordered the lockdowns. State news agency KCNA said the country was taking swift state emergency measures to control the epidemic. A day earlier, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said the spread of COVID-19 had thrust his country into great turmoil and called for an all-out battle to overcome the outbreak. Afghanistan's ruling Taliban unveiled their first annual budget Saturday. Officials said it will be fully funded by domestic revenues. It faces a fiscal deficit of nearly $500 million. Deputy Prime Minister Abdul Salam Hanafi told a news conference in Kabul that his interim government foresees spending about $2.6 billion this financial year. He said Afghanistan expects to make about $2.1 billion in domestic revenue. He didn't explain how Kabul plans to bridge the gap between proposed spending and expected revenues. A federal judge in the United States has blocked part of an Alabama law banning anyone from giving transgender minors gender-affirming medication. AP correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
The law took effect May 8th, making it a felony punishable by up to 10 years in prison to prescribe or administer gender-affirming puberty blockers and hormones to transgender minors to help affirm their new gender identity. Parents with transgendered children and the Justice Department have challenged the law as unconstitutional. The judge issued a preliminary injunction stopping the state from enforcing the medication ban while that challenge goes forward. He left in place other parts of the law banning gender-affirming surgeries and requiring school officials to tell parents if a minor discloses they're transgender. I'm Ben Thomas.
Protests over soaring food prices continued in several cities in Iran on Saturday, according to postings on social media. An Iranian lawmaker told a local media outlet that one person was killed in a demonstration in the southwest. The protests were triggered last week by a cut in state subsidies for imported wheat that caused price increases of as much as 300% for a variety of flour-based food staples. And recapping our top stories this hour, the group of 7 leading global economies says the war in Ukraine is creating a global food and energy crisis throughout the world. Via remote, I'm Marissa Melton. This is VOA News.